early voting for Georgia's 2026 primary starting today in the run-up to Election Day, May 19th. Voters are choosing candidates in races at every level of government. All of them could have an impact on everyday living. Our Brian Unger is at one of the early voting locations, the Southwest Arts Center in the city of South Fulton. Brian, good evening to you. What's the turnout look like right now?
You know, surprisingly, Sharon, there's been a steady stream of voters that are coming into the Arts Center to vote because it's surprising, I say, because usually turnout for sort of primaries like this one tend to be very low. Voters today have dozens and dozens of choices, and I wanted to show you this, and our photographer Chris Kroll might have to zoom out a little bit to get this. This is a copy of the Democratic voting ballot, and behind it is this is the Republican ballot. Stay with me. And this is a nonpartisan ballot, mostly comprised of judicial races. For the governor race alone, there are, I believe, 7 Democrats, 8 Republicans, all vying to be their party's nominee for the governor's race in November. Races here are ranging from national to state to local office seekers, as well as, this is a bit of an oddity in Georgia, there are a series of questions on the ballot, and none of them enacts any policy. They act as kind of polls for the party base, and allegedly they help with voter turnout. This is, needless to say, a little bit overwhelming, we have found, and the voters I talked to here today find it a little overwhelming to deal with. So it pays to do some research. We spoke with Mary Pat Hector, a community organizer and CEO of the youth-led Rise. It's dedicated to mobilizing young voters to come to the polls. She recommends that voters do a little research, of course, but focus in on issues first. Not necessarily the candidates right away, but focus on the issues that are important to you.
Right now, I'm going to continue to express, Brian, that economics, people in this state cannot afford rent. They cannot afford groceries. They cannot afford childcare. And when you think about just those 3 basic things, how can a person thrive in this state without food, without housing, and without the ability to work because they don't know what to do with their children? And so these are many of the things that are driving people to the polls this particular election. And if candidates don't have the answers to those questions, then they might as well wrap up the campaign trail now.
As a practical matter, to deal with the volume of candidates, this voter came prepared.
Have to do your homework ahead of time. That's why I went online and looked at the sample ballot, did my due diligence and looked up the different candidates, found out their positions, and I've already got my mind made up who I'm going to vote for.
Hector has this recommendation. Start at the bottom.
It's those local elections that are really going to make the difference in our lives. When we talk about criminal justice, when we talk about climate, you know, who's going to be the ones pushing these data centers in our communities? Who's going to be the ones determining if someone decides to get life in prison or, you know, push important cases? That's going to be the individual that you need to show up for and vote for on Election Day. And so we really encourage people to start from the bottom of the ballot all the way to the top.
Now, besides these contested offices, Sharon, there are these questions that I mentioned a little bit earlier that are posed to voters, and it depends on what county you live on will dictate which questions you get, but they touch on issues such as taxes, voter integrity, which has to do with whether voters would like to use paper ballot or data systems. There are issues of criminal justice, cell phone bans in schools. We've been hearing a lot about that. Energy independence, immigration, and data centers, another very hot button topic. There's even a question put to Cobb County voters, and I'm quoting here, do you support ending cannabis prohibition in Georgia? Again, a lot of these questions meant to sort of motivate the base. They don't enact policies, like I said. They just function as polls, and these are submitted by state or party officials. Now, the Georgia Secretary of State's website, specifically My Voter page, allows you to check your voter registration, find your polling place, and print out a sample ballot. We'll put that address on our CBS News Atlanta app.
Brian, that was quite a
Sharon?
long list that you showed us earlier, but thank you for simplifying it for the voters. We appreciate it.